Have you ever felt like you're always on call for everyone else's emotions? Always ready to respond, to please, to explain. But what if one day you just stopped? What if you chose silence over reaction, distance over explanation, mystery over predictability? What do you think would happen? This is where everything begins to shift. Imagine a moment, not a loud, dramatic scene, but a quiet pause, a retreat. You don't raise your voice. You don't argue. You simply become unavailable, and the world around you trembles. Because when you stop being constantly available, people start to notice. They get uncomfortable. They question themselves. They chase. They reflect. Why? Because your silence becomes louder than any scream. Your absence, more powerful than any presence. This isn't just psychological, it's energetic. When you withdraw your attention, your psychic energy, you disrupt the dynamics that people unconsciously depend on. And suddenly, everything changes. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." So let's flip that. Everything that irritates others when you become unavailable can reveal how much power your presence held. Now think for a moment. When you stop replying immediately, who panics? When you stop explaining yourself, who gets angry? When you stop rescuing, who starts to fall apart? This isn't about cruelty, it's about clarity. Because so often, you are being emotionally manipulated and you don't even know it. You're being trained to respond, to please, to keep the peace at the cost of your own peace. Each time you say yes when you want to say no, each time you react instead of reflect, each time you explain instead of simply being, you're giving away fragments of your energy. And by the end of the day, what's left for you? Exhaustion, frustration, that strange emptiness you can't quite name. But here's the truth no one tells you. You are not obligated to be emotionally available to everyone, especially not to those who only value you when you're useful to them. This video isn't about turning cold, it's about turning inward. It's about choosing yourself. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming whole, of peeling off the false layers, the masks, the roles you've been taught to play. And a big part of that is learning to conserve your energy, to protect your boundaries, and to understand that your silence is not weakness, it's power. Let's get honest for a second. From the time you were young, you were taught to be available, to respond quickly, to say yes, to be nice, to smile, to not offend, to keep the peace. But at what cost? You were taught that being accessible makes you lovable, that being helpful makes you valuable. But what if I told you that this excessive availability isn't kindness, it's captivity? Because when you are always available, you become expected, predictable. And what is predictable is no longer seen, it's used. People start to treat you like an emotional vending machine. They press a button, attention, comfort, validation, and expect instant results. And then they leave, until the next time they need something. Sound familiar? You think they value you, but often they only value what you provide. And when you stop providing, they vanish. Or worse, they get angry. They accuse you of changing. They say, "You're not the same." But you know what's really happening? You stopped being their tool, and now they don't know what to do with you. Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we wear to be liked, accepted, and included. But the longer we wear it, the more we forget our own face. We say yes when we're dying to say no. We smile when our soul is screaming. We keep showing up for everyone but ourselves. And slowly, we disappear. We fade into the background of our own lives. But here's where the transformation begins. When you withdraw, not from fear, but from awareness, you reclaim yourself. You stop being the emotional servant to other people's chaos. You stop dancing for their approval. You stop explaining yourself. defending yourself, proving your worth. You just become. And that, my friend, is terrifying to them, because now you're no longer controllable, no longer predictable, no longer a puppet reacting to every pull. You're choosing your moments. You're choosing where your energy flows. Let's talk about that energy. Jung didn't see the human psyche as just a machine. He saw it as an energy system. Your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, they all consume energy. So the real question is, are you choosing where your energy goes? Or are you giving it away on autopilot? Every time you react to something that doesn't deserve your attention, you drain yourself. Every time you try to fix someone, to argue, to defend, to be understood, you spend energy. But what are you getting back? Nothing. This is why so many people walk around tired, not physically, but psychically, spiritually, because they're leaking energy everywhere. And the worst part? The more drained you become, the more vulnerable you are. To manipulation, to guilt, to shame, to fake connections, to burnout. The people who thrive in your exhaustion are the ones who benefit from your inability to say no, your inability to pause, your fear of silence. Jung said, "A healthy psyche is one that knows how to keep energy within the system." That means knowing when to stay quiet, when to observe, when to walk away. It means knowing that true power isn't in the loud response, it's in the calm restraint. Ask yourself, how many nights have you lost sleep over a conversation you should have never had? How many times have you played imaginary dialogues in your head, justifying yourself to people who didn't care? How much energy have you spent keeping connections alive that were draining you? This is your life force we're talking about. This is your inner world. It deserves more respect. So let's flip the script. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of explaining, you remain silent. Instead of being everywhere, you become selective. This is not selfish, it's sacred. Because not everyone deserves your energy, not everyone deserves your attention, and not everyone deserves access to your inner world. In fact, let's go deeper. When you stop being available all the time, you force others to confront themselves. You break the pattern. You stop being their distraction. And in that space, they must meet their own emptiness, their own wounds, their own projections. You becoming unavailable is not rejection. It's reflection. It forces a mirror. And not everyone is ready for that. But here's what will happen. The ones who are meant for you will step up. They will meet you in the silence. They will value the moments you do show up. They will respect your time, your energy, your presence. Because now, it's not something they expect. It's something they cherish. The ones who only wanted you for your availability, they'll fade, they'll accuse, they'll resist. But eventually they'll disappear, and that's okay. Let them. Because this journey isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your voice by first embracing your silence. It's about stopping the cycle of overgiving and starting the process of individuation, becoming whole. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that starts the moment you stop being what everyone else expects you to be, the moment you stop being always available. So today, I challenge you. Don't answer that message right away. Don't pick up the phone just because it's ringing. Don't explain yourself when silence will do. Let your unavailability speak volumes. Because when you stop being available, everything shifts. And there's something else that happens too. When you begin honoring your own rhythm, life begins to feel different. You notice more. You feel more. You become more present with fewer people, but in a deeper way. You start to crave quality over quantity, depth over noise, solitude over forced connection. You begin to realize that it's not your job to be available to everyone. It's your responsibility to be loyal to your own growth. You are not here to hold space for everyone else while neglecting yourself. You are not here to be the emotional anchor for others while drifting away from your own center. When you reclaim your energy, You reclaim your choices, your clarity, your creativity, your peace. And you begin to notice who's been draining you, not because they're bad people, but because your availability was fueling a dynamic that no longer serves your evolution. Let your life recalibrate. Let some relationships fade. Let yourself rest. Withdraw so you can realign. Detach so you can rediscover. And in that stillness, in that sacred silence, you begin to hear the truth of who you are. Your power is not in how much you give. It's in knowing when to stop giving. Your strength is not in how much you carry. It's in knowing what to set down. The more you choose yourself, the more you'll find that life begins to respond. Opportunities shift, relationships shift. Your inner world begins to feel like home again. You're not abandoning anyone, you're returning to yourself. So take this moment, breathe, be. Let your energy settle into your body. Let your silence cleanse the noise. Let your soul remember what it feels like to rest. Because the more you rest in yourself, the more powerful you become. You were never too much. You were just giving to the wrong people. You were never too sensitive. You were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to handle your depth. You were never too unavailable. You were just learning to protect what is sacred inside of you. So from this moment forward, you don't need to apologize for your silence. You don't need to explain your absence. You don't need to justify your healing. You just need to keep choosing you. Because when you stop being available to what drains you, you become available to what builds you. And that changes everything. You'll start to feel the shifts not only in your relationships, but in how you speak, how you move, how you make decisions. You begin to respond from a place of calm strength rather than reactive anxiety. You notice how much more grounded you feel when you're no longer tangled in the chaos of others' expectations. And here's something beautiful. When you stop being overly available, your intuition gets louder. You begin to hear your own voice again, not the noise of others, but the guidance that comes from within. And that voice, that knowing, becomes your compass. You'll begin to find joy in your own presence, peace in your own solitude. You'll find yourself saying no without guilt, saying yes without fear, living not for approval, but for alignment. And in that space, in that sacred stillness, you'll realize the people who truly see you will never demand your constant availability. They will celebrate your boundaries. They will honor your pauses. They will know that your silence is not distance, it's depth. So take this moment as permission, not from me, but from your higher self. Permission to step back, permission to rest, permission to become unavailable, not to punish, but to heal, to remember who you are. Because you deserve to be whole, not hollowed out. You deserve to be cherished, not used. You deserve to be seen, not just summoned. So withdraw with love, detach with grace, protect your energy like the sacred fire it is. Because when you honor your availability, you honor your value. And here's one more truth before we go. The more you align with your authentic self, the more magnetic you become. People will be drawn to your peace, not your performance, to your essence, not your efforts. Your presence will say more in silence than words ever could. You won't need to prove your worth. You'll simply embody it. And those who resonate with that will find you, not because you chased, but because you stood still in your truth. So don't be afraid of the shift. Don't fear the silence. Welcome it. Because silence is not the absence of something. It's the presence of everything that matters. Thank you for being here. Truly. If this message touched something deep within you, take a moment to like the video. It helps more than you know. Share it with someone who needs this. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. There's more to come, more truth, more soul, more space to grow together. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay rooted, stay sovereign, and always choose yourself.